Hey everyone, welcome back to the Spotlight on Good People, where we shine a light on the humans behind the hustle and heart and the goodness of our community. Today's guest is someone who doesn't just color outside the lines, he repaints the whole damn canvas. I love that. Based in Naples by way of Dallas and Las Cruces, Abel Garcia is an artist, muralist, fashion designer, and full-time force of creative energy. With clients like the Dallas Cowboys, I won't hold that against you. I'm an Eagles fan. Air Jordan's own Justin Taylor, Jack Daniels, and more. Abel's work pops up everywhere from luxury high-rises to community murals to live painting performances. His motto, why sleep when you can paint? And after talking with him, you'll believe it. Abel, welcome. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
What a blessing to be.
No, it's an honor for us to have you.
I know. I'm just giddy. I'm seeing it. All your setup is just really professional and I'm very humble. I love all the cups too. So cool.
Yeah, these espresso cups were a gift from Zach. Thank you, Zach. My
Those
espresso.
those are great.
This is my pre-workout here.
Yeah. No, I get those for pick me up too. So
I live on that. Yeah. And this has a specific intention. It's not because I'm timing you, but I'll tell you about that later.
That's really cool.
It represents life in a way. Like we live like we live, if this was a representation of life, we live like this is our future. Mm-hmm. That's the time we have left. This is our past, which has already happened. It's behind us. It's done. And this is right now. This is our present. That's really all we have. But we live, I saw this recently. We live like we know what's in this top half, when in reality, we have no idea what's up there. We don't know. All we have is that little middle section there, and then a memory of the past. So we don't really know. Like I live, and I have to remind myself that I don't know that I have that. I don't know based on my age that I have all that. I have no clue.
That's giving me goosebumps.
I live like that. Yeah.
That's profound. How did you come
I saw a guy on TikTok who was talking about it from many years ago. Wow. He was probably back in the day of like Carnegie and Napoleon Hill and all those old time motivational type speakers.
Okay.
And he was from that era, and he was just pulled out this as a representation. It hit me in a way like, because usually what'll happen is if I have somebody significant in my life who passes, mm-hmm. It's a real wake up call for me. It's like, wow,
absolutely,
how finite life is, and how quick and short and brief, and how every moment really matters. Yeah, and that's a wake up. But then gradually over time, I go back to life. I got plenty of time. I'll tell them I love them the next time I see them. I'll be in the moment next time. But now I have so much going on. I got so much I got to get done. I'm really not here. I'm over there. I'm thinking about the next 10 things that I got to do after this. So I'm never really in that moment because I'm always so scattered. Not always, but often I am. I find myself and I catch myself. So this just kind of centers me. Like I go, okay, you know what? That's all I got right there. I don't know.
That's great
about any of that. So
yeah,
our time here is together, and that's what we got. So.
I go all over the place like that too. That's actually really, really cool. What I've understood, I think a little bit of a superpower of like being an artist is like the ability to deconstruct and reconstruct things. So then you start applying that to your life. So like if you're a little too busy, it's like, why is that? Am I cultivating that, or am I creating that reality for myself? So you get the ability to kind of step back. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like what I'm cultivating as a career, or like what's important, is it becoming a prison? Is it becoming pleasure, or is it too much pain? Like, what am I doing? So I always like have that. I'm in the point of my life where like I take a step back for that. But Naples has allowed me to do that, because what you were just describing was me in Dallas, because there was so much. I was like overstimulated. I was working with the Mavs and the Cowboys and Mark Cuban and the Hunt family, who owns the Kansas City Chiefs and FC Dallas. So we're just doing all of this crazy stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'm living this art life, but then of course, like family passes away, and, or the wife needs attention, and you're like, oh, I need to take a step back. So I get it. Well, I understand.
I like what you said, because it sounds to me like you looking at life as a canvas, as a blank canvas, and you get to create it the way that you want it when you step back and you look, am I in a prison if I box myself in, or is the canvas wide open,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at it like that.
Yeah.
That's how I interpret that from what you said. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because I think, questions that I'll have for you about the blank canvas in the process. So the moment you walked in, you came in with a certain vibe and a certain energy, and then you brought your artwork with you, and it just lit up the whole place. I watched shy, quiet people on our team light up by looking at it. It just changed the expression on their face and changed their day by just seeing what you represent. And that wasn't only the art, but it was who you are behind it too. Just in a little bit of time, without many words, you've created an impact here. So we're glad to have you. Yeah, man. Cool. And your hair looks awesome too.
Oh, I know. Your stylists are phenomenal. Oh my goodness. I was going to put it back up in a bun. I was like, no,
you got to let them say, hey, if you got it, show it, man.
I was like, we'll shine. We'll shine. I was like, they worked wonders here. So
yeah, looking good. Thanks.
Thank you.
What was the moment when you knew you were an artist?
That was probably at 6 years old. 6 years old, I was creative. I was not like everyone else. I was always doodling. Even when we started going to school and all of that, like I would get in trouble because there was doodles all over my homework, my backpack, my books that I had to turn back in. I was just starting to express myself. So,
and was there some recognition of that, or it just was something you just couldn't stop doing? Did somebody at one point say, wow, was it mom or somebody in the family who just
not really. It was kind of the opposite. I would get like in trouble for doing all of that. And then I remember my grandfather told me the coolest thing in the world. I was about 9 years old and I told him I was going to be a famous artist. And instead of saying like, I believe in you, son, or anything like that, he just looked at me very stoic and he said, don't tell me, show me. And it never left me. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because it wasn't like, don't do that at all. It was just, okay, show me. Yeah. Versus no, you'll never be. Don't do that. Do something you can make more money. Do it. Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome. And you did.
Yeah. Sure did.
So what was it? So take me through the process of becoming an artist that can do it for as a career.
You just have to be okay with a lot of rejection. And it's not a bad thing. It's almost like the art world. That's like the toll that you have to pay to cross the river to the other side. People are not gonna think your work's relevant until you hammer your craft. You keep going regardless of what people's opinions are. And then on the other side of that, they're like, oh, okay, maybe there is something here, So you just really, really have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is what you want to do.
A real conviction to it, a real commitment to it all the way in. I know that, in growing up in a business that is about art, the hair industry is a form of artistry. And the artists that we have in the business, so many of them have been dissuaded or have been asked and begged and pleaded with, don't do that. You got to do something that's more stable, something that's going to give you a 401k, something that's going to give you health insurance. You got to do it another way because there's no stability in that. But it really takes a level of fortitude to push, like you said, to push through that, all the no, because there's a lot of no, and you hear a lot of no, don't do that. There's no set way. You can't just apply somewhere and it's going to happen. You've got to, like you said, deal with a lot of, and probably even more so because you're in a field that is a blank canvas. There is no roadmap for it. There's no roadmap
whatsoever.
How did you, in terms of your style, were you formally taught? Was it always just this something inside you?
Well, it was something inside me, but I was introduced to kind of like a raw element of it. I'm obviously an 80s baby, right? And grew up in the 90s. So I was introduced to old school graffiti, breakdancing, I always say true hip hop.
Yeah. Were you a spray can wizard?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I joined a crew in Las Cruces. So we weren't getting recognition. We were actually breaking the law. So I come from all of that culture. And then I merged into college, because in high school I was getting in trouble. We were playing sports and doing everything that me and my friends would do. But then we started getting in trouble with the law because we didn't know that we couldn't write our names on businesses and stuff like that. So I was telling people I was famous or I was an artist before I was like recognized. I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to put my signature here or do all this. So, I had to go in front of a judge, and my lawyer got a great portfolio for me. And there was a lot of relevance there. So my options were I either get in trouble or I go to college.
Wait. So your defense was bring in your artwork.
Yeah.
And let the judge see what you can do. No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I remember it like yesterday. So Judge Miller Byrne, she said, Mr. Garcia, I do not understand what this is, but it's relevant. Like you're showing depth, you're showing perspective, you're showing creativity. Your options are either go to straight and narrow and go to college and better yourself, or here's your other options. And my other options weren't very nice. So, I was like, college it is.
Wow. That's so cool. I love that. That was the defense was what you're good at. It was great. That's awesome. Oh, what a great legal defense. Legal team you had. That's great. So from there?
From there, I started learning about the masters. So it reaffirmed kind of like my fire about art. I started learning about Picasso, Da Vinci. Once I started learning about Andy Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat, I was like, I'm like them. And that's when I realized their path was just this radical path, but it's doable, So all of the language was there. It really, really was. And I was like, oh, okay, so it is doable. There's proof that you can have humble beginnings, or you can start with this dream or this vision, and you can cultivate it and you can make it work for you however that looks. Once I figured out that blueprint, that really inspired me. And I was like, I'm not going to stop. Like, I really do not care if I sleep on a couch and eat SpaghettiOs for the rest of my life, as long as I can create.
Yeah, that level of passion, level of love.
That was it. There was no other. I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to, and I would try odd in jobs. I was like a personal trainer. I was a bartender. I was a waiter. I even unloaded shipping containers at like 4 a.m. just to buy art supplies, and I would go paint there in Deep Ellum, Texas, put my hat on the street and just like paint for tips, oh yeah, take this for $20, take this for $100, like, do all of this stuff, just to create, just to kind of live in that creative world.
Wow. I admire that passion. I admire that dedication to it, to do just whatever it took.
Yeah.
With such humility.
Yeah. There was no ego. There's never still any ego right now. Like, I will work with anyone. I will have a conversation with anyone. Like, if we can get some art in your hands, like it really, that's really all that matters.
So I know you also do live work. So you actually go to an event and you create a piece at the event in front of people while people are looking at you and watching you. No fear, concern. No, I mean, what goes on in your mind when you got people looking at you with the pressure to do something, and I want to like it?
I had a lot of training. Believe it or not, I was extremely insecure about focusing on my art for a long time. And that was more like an internal struggle of like always thinking you're not good enough. Thankfully, I used to paint for free for about like 7 years in Plano, Texas at River of Glory for the worship team. They would let me just paint and perform and kind of paint prophetically in front of all the people at church, and you only had a allotment of time, so that kind of like got the jitters out of me. And then from there it was just like natural. All the time I would just paint for 8 hours, 9 hours, in my studio. Like, I would forget time. existed. So so now every experience, whether it's in front of 100,000 people, 30,000 people, 40 people, 50 people, it just feels like I'm in my studio.
Wow.
They're almost not even there.
Do you lose? Do you just become part of the process? So it's almost like the everything else disappears, and you're just so present with what you're creating. Is that the experience? What it's like for you? So
Yeah, you kind of like zone
you and
in.
the canvas. Yeah,
you kind of just like zone in. So everything kind of dies out. You're not even aware that anyone's watching you because you do it so much. You're either sketching or painting or kind of freestyling yourself. So so it's just like you're constantly doing that. And it's reaffirmation too that you're doing what you're designed to do.
Yeah.
I truly believe that I was born to create.
Love that. We've got to collab. We got to create some excitement around
That's
here.
where the magic happens.
Yeah. And going into summer, especially, it's a good time for the locals to sort of get out and see something different. We can create that, some fun events in our salons in the evenings and generate some excitement and passion around fun.
Agreed.
Yeah, cool. How has your work evolved? Because as you look back on your career, how has it evolved, and what do you see as different now than
placement has a lot to do with your work. Like if you don't think it does, it really, really does. So coming from Las Cruces, New Mexico, you're inspired by the mountains. Of course, I grew up in the sugar skull culture, like the Dia de los Muertos, like just being influenced by
what is that?
The Day of the Dead. So like, you know, the movie Disney Coco, right? It's very relevant now.
Okay.
That like I live that. That's
okay.
Before it was popular. Like that's everyday occurrence, right? Native Americans, you know, they're very spiritual, you know. So just being submersed in that, you live that kind of life. I would equate it to someone almost who's like from Venice before Venice got popular, right? So like if they're from Dogtown, they live a certain way. They're influenced and inspired by a certain way. Almost the same way that you are here in Naples. People in Naples do things a different way, especially if you're local. The locals value different things versus people who are transplants from Naples, right? So it's very, very interesting. So going to the big city, I was exposed to a lot more. And then I got to link up with my heroes. So I got to paint for Emmitt Smith. So that's one of my heroes there.
He's a Gator boy.
Yeah. So he's just such a class act.
Oh, he is.
And just like painting for your heroes, your work just evolves. You know, one of my buddies too, who's running Nike, he would always call me and just like speak words of affirmation into me. He's like, hey, I'm with all of these designers up here and your stuff's just as good as theirs. Like, I believe in you. And I was like, wow, that's all I needed to hear. And then on top of that, he had a Nike paint suit made for me. So he's like, you should perform in this. And I was like, way cool. Absolutely. 100%. So just those experiences and being placed in different environments, it will change your art. Like something really happens. And then now that I go to the beach every day, you know, I work out at 3:30 in the morning. I get my workout done, you know, pray, then go and chill out there.
Wait, 3:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah. So I was at the gym this morning. So
you go to bed?
It's nonstop. Sometimes I'll go to bed like at 1. Sometimes I'll go to bed at 12. Sometimes I'll just stay up all night. So it's just,
you could do that. And
I've been doing it forever. Like I try to take care of myself the best that I can.
I mean, you look rested. You don't look like you got bags under your eyes or like you need to go take a nap for a week.
Yeah. I just take my career very seriously and I love what I do.
When is your time of day where you're in the zone? Is there a time of day, morning, evening, late night? What is there? It's
usually early morning or super late at night going into the morning because the world stands still, you know? So like I can just feel it like within like my soul, how the world's moving and, you know, it's just hustle and bustle or like this, that, the other regular hours. But like when it starts to get real still and nothing else is going on. Yeah. That's when I start to go to work. That's when I start to really, really plug in.
No distractions. The world is still.
It's quiet. Yeah. It's quiet. There's nothing else to worry about. It's just like, it's just me and the canvas. It's really rad.
Yeah. You go to the beach daily.
Yeah.
That's something I always bothers me that I live in this paradise and I just don't get there enough. And when I go, I'm like, why don't I come here more? This is the most beautiful place in the world.
Yeah, it's
when I get there more.
It's so powerful and it's so healing. And it reminds me of home too. Las Cruces, New Mexico obviously doesn't have a beach, but they have mountains that surround it. And like, you always know when you're gonna get your soul full when I see the mountains and stuff like that. But for a long time, I would do the same thing. I really didn't take advantage of the mountains as much until I was taken away from them. Then I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like, it's really a magical place to grow up and kind of be around visual overload. For sure.
Yeah. And nature nourishes your soul.
Yep.
It gives you what you need.
It speaks to you in ways that humans can't.
Yeah. Hugh shared with me, I don't even know if we were rolling at the time, about the types of art or the other artists. We talked about cubes.
We're talking about cubism, analytical and synthetic cubism by Georges Braque and Pablo Picasso. Yes.
Which is a form of art. What would you call it? Like
it is a style. So it's a language. I think the most powerful thing that we have to like analyze is they were growing up in the high Renaissance, right? So whenever it's the same way in the art realm as it is like in success and anything else. You see one artist who's very authentic and he does it phenomenal. And the best form of flattering is a bunch of artists try and either outdo him or they copy him or her. It's human nature. What blows my mind is when everyone's doing this or almost like, okay, it needs to look like this. There's that one person who's like, hey, let's create like this. So they want to go a completely different route. So like he can paint hyper realistic.
Who's that?
Picasso. So he's trained. He's classically trained. So he can make his art look a certain way. He can paint a portrait and it'll look identical to that person. He's got that skill and he just went a completely different route. And so he went against the grain.
Disrupted the whole
and now
world.
That stuff's worth millions. Just out of like, okay, like everyone's cultivating this way. This is relevant. And he like almost kicked open the door for people to almost express themselves that maybe didn't want to express themselves that way. So I really, really, really respect that. And I really enjoy learning about things like that.
So what is it that has artwork live on for centuries? Like it just, and become so timeless?
I truly believe it's the lifestyle. I truly believe the person, the core of a person, they have a little bit of everything, right? They're a little kooky, they're a little bit different. They have a wonderful heart, and they're just really submersed in their work. It doesn't matter what's going on around the world. Like they process information differently. And they understand the scenario of the world, right? They understand they still need to pay bills. There's heartbreak. They understand maybe even sacrificing not having kids for their art. You know, there's just all these scenarios that they understand, but somehow they still create, they still cultivate, they still gave the world the best of what they wanted to produce. And I just really, that blows my mind. And I get really obsessive.
Awesome. I got to go back to Emmitt for a minute. Cause
yeah, of course.
How'd that happen?
So, I mean, placement and like I said, lifestyle aspect is very interesting. I was bartending at the time at Raw Sushi. So I was still cultivating my language. I was living in a 800 square foot apartment in North Dallas. And it was kind of like a bet. I had some mega real estate clients who were like booze hounds. So I was serving their drink and, hey, they said you're an artist. Like, are you a good artist? You know, like that conversation. So it's so funny. I was like, yeah, I am. Okay, well, do you want to paint for the Cowboys? And I was like, yeah. Can you do this? Of course. So they asked me to paint a portrait of him. So I ended up painting 3. we were raising money for his nonprofit. He let me keep one of them, and then we sold the other two for 30 grand a pop. So there's one in my brother's insurance office there in Allen, Texas, or Lucas, Texas. But he was just such a class act. And from there, the door got kicked open that more Cowboys started asking for me. And then after a while, I kind of didn't have to be in the service industry anymore, and started really, like, Dallas really started responding a lot to my art. And it was just almost like a perfect storm. But like, I had to be in the mix. You know, I was in the bar scene. I was with the people who had money to to drink and stuff like that. Yeah. And so it was really, really interesting. But from there, it just, you know, it was the snowball effect. You know, Jay Novacek, painted for him and his nonprofit, Kenny Gant, Michael Irvin. It was just all these really cool people.
Well, what's it like working with a celebrity or an athlete like that?
At first, I'm always going to get giddy. So if I love your work, or like I love what you do, or like I grew up, I'm gonna let you know. I'm not gonna be too cool for school. Like, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, can you take a picture, selfie with me? Sign my hat, dude. Like, here, take my Jordan. Can you sign my Jordan? Like, I was like, yeah, that's like Emmitt. So I'm just like that. So I give people their flowers regardless. Like, dude, like, I'm sure you hear this all the time.
You can't hold it in. You love them. You're like, hey, you're the shit, man.
Like, I just really am. I think I get like even crazier when I meet artists that I really, really like. Like, if you do your research on a artist named Stash, he's done multiple shoes with Nike. Awesome graffiti artist, old school artist from the 80s. He's best friends with Cause. He is just like, he's like a piece of Americana history, right? I get obsessed with him. Mad Steez
and you've met him before?
Yes, multiple times.
Oh, cool.
I have books, I have shoes, I have signatures. Mad Steez, he painted Chris Brown's house, and he is a wonderful, wonderful graffiti artist. I'm just obsessed with him. He's actually partially colorblind too. I met him at a Complex Con, and he was painting the Tequila 1800 booth, and I was just like, Mad Steez, yeah. So I get super obsessed with people who just execute at that level, and because I understand what they're doing.
Would your work be called graffiti art?
Not necessarily.
What is graffiti? Could you tell me the differences?
Yeah, graffiti art. Graffiti artists are very trained, so they do stay in their lane. I would say my art's graffiti inspired.
Okay.
But traditional graffiti artists, they stick to the elements of graffiti. So they stick to wild style, bombing, graphing. You know, they take pride in their discipline of executing spray crayons a certain way for the aesthetic to look a certain way.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily graffiti art.
Okay.
I would say it's fine art with a graffiti flair.
Okay. How do you choose colors? What's your color world come from?
The more color, the better. I love pops of color. I love the juxtaposition of certain things. So we can dissect the painting a little bit. These are things that I've been writing and doodling in the background for a while. Of course, your bubble letters, $1 Million Vandal, you know, it's just a juxtapose, right? How can you be a vandal, a millionaire vandal, right? Of course, like heavy branding, the Fendi branding logo. If you see the lady in this graphic style, it's like an homage to Roy Lichtenstein, right? So he's a godfather of pop art. Love that aspect. And then, you know, trial and error too. My signature's hidden in the back, so you'll see CIA, like Abel Garcia, you know. And then, of course, we're dabbling with a little bit of the iridescent paint, so you're gonna see a shim to it. So just influence from different like disciplines. You know, I found iridescent paint with Nike shoes. They use them a lot, but also car paint too. So I just kind of sample from every world that inspires me.
There's so much more to that than I realized when you went over that with me. I thought, wow, and I see it a whole new way now that you just kind of gave me what's there.
And I always dabble in a concept too. Like, have you ever been to New York?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like for me, going to New York, it almost seems like a movie set, but like they live in real life, right? You can turn any corner and it's like a brick wall, and you see staircases, and of course you see graffiti. So I was asking myself, like, what if you could just take a piece of the wall and frame it? Like, what if you could physically take it and frame it? And that's kind of like what I came up with in this concept. It was like, this would look like it would be on a brick wall. Right. So I was like, those things are so interesting to me. They're super, super interesting.
So does the vibe of a city or a town influence your work?
Yes. I'm very like sensitive to energy in a sense. So New York's going to have a different flair than Turkey. You know, I've been in Istanbul and it's completely different. So it just really depends. Miami's completely different.
Yeah.
You know, if you go to Austin, night and day from San Antonio, Texas.
Is it?
Yeah. It's super rad though. It's super, super cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What is Naples?
Naples, I'm still figuring out. What's really cool, like we talked about earlier, is locals value things different than people who have like placed here, like have been placed here.
Yeah.
So I know Naples has an identity, but I think it needs to be cultivated a little bit more. Like you probably should see heavy branding of Naples and Naples slogans on t-shirts and fishing shirts and stuff like that, like really cool. There should be really cool concepts where someone should develop like a manatee purse that's high end, and half of the proceeds should go back to the manatee, you know, to raise money. So like little concepts like that. I don't understand why people are not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are things where sometimes the identity needs to be cultivated a little bit more, or it needs to be, I guess, talked about more.
Yeah.
Because it definitely has a vibe here. Naples is definitely a vibe.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's a special place. It is. It's
super
very unique
special.
and special. Yeah. Well, how'd you get from where you were to here? How'd you end up in Naples?
My wife was the one of the top wedding planners in Dallas and event planners. So she kind of introduced me to, you know, showmanship, performance, high execution, business, catering to clients, all of that. She sold her business, and they reached out to her. So Seafair Yachts at the time reached out for her, and the headquarters is here. So that's what she wanted to do. So we moved out here. We uprooted our life in Dallas, 15 years there, and we came down here. And
that's a big deal. That's a big move.
Yeah, it was wild at first. It was wild because we really don't know anybody. It's just me and her out here. So, but I like those odds. She's all I need. So
yeah, that's cool.
And
that's
I love her very much. I'm so proud of her, and just always want to support her. And now she's linked up with Marissa's on 3rd Street.
Of course.
So she
is an institution here.
Yeah.
So
awesome. She is just loving what she does. She's in luxury sales and luxury design, and she's just happy as a clam doing that. And she's always just been phenomenal at what she does. So
your family is where?
Some of my family is in Las Cruces, New Mexico. The majority of them are there. And then her family, my in-laws, are all in like Plano, Texas.
Okay.
But what's pretty cool is originally her dad's side is from Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Went that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do have family in Tampa. So we're not like super, super alone. If, you know, we'll go link up with our family in Tampa, but it's almost like Florida wanted her back in a sense. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. So that's kind of full circle.
What do you miss the most of home?
I miss my brother. Like my brother's in Allen, Texas. So he's my best friend. He's like a mentor to me and a hero to me, you know? So it's just, having access to him and having access to my people too. I miss my in-laws, and I miss, you know, I am a family oriented person, but I also know that my destiny requires me to do certain things in order for me to flourish and stuff. So like, that's kind of like the double-edged sword. You can't kind of have both. So those aspects, like I miss that aspect a lot.
You have a good relationship with your in-laws.
Yes, I love them. They're very supportive.
Yeah.
They're a tight unit. They love each other, and that was just supportive of everyone too. Like I think what was really radical is every Christmas or birthday they would just get me a bunch of art supplies. So canvases, they would just reinvest in my business and stuff. And I was like, that is so helpful. Like, so they just support all of their sons and daughters, their cousins, their siblings, their son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws by marriage. They just support whatever they're passionate about. So it was very interesting. I'm very humble and thankful for them.
What's your wife's name?
Rachel.
How would Rachel describe you?
That I'm the hottest dude on the planet. She better, or at least in my head, I think. I don't. That's a great question. I don't know. I don't think I've ever asked her. Like I always like to give her the business and stuff like that. But she would just. I would imagine she would say that I'm the love of her life, and she's the love of her life. So yeah.
Your mom is in Las Cruces?
Yes.
What's her name?
Becky Ordunez Polanco. Yeah.
Becky Ordunez Polanco.
Yeah.
And how would she describe you?
She would just say Abel is Abel. That's my son.
Two siblings or one sibling? If it's just you and your brother?
Yes.
Okay. And he's older?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're the baby of the family.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm the baby.
And Abel is Abel. Is what you say.
Yeah. I've always been different. So she's like, oh yeah.
Is there a food that you miss from back home?
Yes. If you go to Las Cruces, New Mexico, and if you disagree with me, like I guess we're fighting, but I am convinced that the New Mexican food is better than original Mexican food because of the way it's prepared. Every family knows how to make it, and there's specific red and green chili there that the Native Americans have cultivated there that is hotter than original Mexican food. So it's prepared completely different. So the ideal dish is a green enchilada. They're all flat, beans and rice with an egg on top. Phenomenal.
And what is that called in Spanish?
It's just enchiladas.
Enchilada
huevos?
Okay. So the green sauce, is that hot?
It is hot.
Hot?
Yes. It's going to turn you red. Yeah.
Okay.
And they always say in New Mexico, it's Christmas year round. So they're known for enchiladas doing red and green chili. So it's smothered like red and green, like Christmas. Yeah. So you can get that style.
I didn't realize there was a regional difference in
big time.
Really?
Big time. So like in deep Mexico, depending on where you're placed at, right, they don't serve tacos with cilantro and cebolla, like onions and cilantro. Like that's a deep Mexico thing that's not served there in Mexico. Yeah.
It's not. Okay.
Yeah.
And a higher heat, more heat over there. Yeah. Is there anywhere here that you found that's close?
Yes, there's a taco spot on Bayshore, off of Bayshore and Airport. Oh man, I forgot what it was called, but it is pretty good. Their salsa they have 3 different types, and they only serve quesadillas and tacos, and they are phenomenal. The shrimp and then the bistec is phenomenal. Oh,
good,
very
stuff.
Very good. So yeah.
Have you been to Immokalee?
Yes, I have. Have you been to Candela? It used to be La Santa. That place is pretty good too. Yeah. They have a habanero salsa there. Watch out, man. That one's pretty good.
I'm going to have to put these on my list.
Yeah. That's and good. They have like a little robot that brings you your ticket and stuff like that. Right? Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Does your wife cook?
Yeah. She cooks a lot of pasta, a lot of like, and she's vegetarian too. So she's a hippie. She's more of a hippie than I am.
Okay. So. But you eat meat?
Of course.
Carnivore.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
have to.
Yeah, I couldn't give it up either.
Have to get the protein out, man.
Yeah, right. And so you get your workout done first thing in the morning.
Yep.
And that's a part of your regimen for life.
Yes. I think I'm just a fitness enthusiast for life. I think taking care of yourself is something that's very high priority, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I think it's super, super important because it cultivates the best version of yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree
You know?
more. It's my drug. It's the one drug that I need. It's
Yeah.
yeah,
And society teaches against that.
yeah,
Yeah, it really, really does.
yeah,
So
in every way.
yeah. Like society wants you comfortable. It wants you docile.
Yeah,
You know, you got to be very, very much aware of, because you are almost like say like people are tuning forks. They're like batteries. They're like magnets, So like you got to charge yourself with what,
yeah,
you have a lot to offer the world,
yeah,
There's only one of you.
yeah, yeah. That's all we have. That's all we get.
You're one of one.
One shot, right?
You're one of one. So yeah.
What do you ever hit a wall or a place where you're not inspired by, you can't get going? And if you do, what do you do to get yourself out of that?
I pray, like I pray and I kind of get really still, I really get still. So there's certain things that life's gonna happen. So like last year, buried my grandfather. My best friend brother got injured, reduced to a wheelchair. My other best friend passed away, and we just lost our dog. So life's gonna happen regardless. So it's just it's really getting still. Almost kind of just taking a step back and then just realizing like where God has taken you, and just being grateful in every scenario. Like instead of experiencing loss, and yes, you're going to go through grief and all that, but like be grateful that you had this person for this long and you got to experience so many good times. Like the good times are always spread throughout your lifetime, and the yucky stuff only happens for a little bit. So you really have to adjust the perspective. You really, really do. And that's really allowed me to kind of break through that. And I allow all the emotions to be processed. I don't like reject them. I'm just like, okay, like if I'm feeling sad, in Spanish, sentido. I just sentido. Yeah. Sentido. Yeah. Sometimes I get sentido if I miss home or I miss my parents, right? But you let it pass through you. You let it pass through you, and you don't let it rule you. You're human. You're designed to experience all of these emotions, not just joy and gratitude. Like you're designed to, how do you process grief? How do you process hurt? Like how do you process depression or melancholy? You know what I mean? And just know that it's a season or a phase, and it will pass.
You do a lot of work with not-for-profits.
Yes.
A lot of community work.
Yes.
Why do you do that?
Well, I mean, I've lived this radical art life, and I don't want anyone to ever think that, oh, I'm just this dynamic person who, like, I've done it all myself. There's so many people who have invested in me, whether they're buying art pieces or they're speaking words of affirmation over me, or they're letting me stay on their couch, or, all the above. That means the world to me. And the only way I know how to pay it forward is to help people that can't help themselves. So if I can generate 30 grand for a family that's suffering from cancer, that's the least I can do. Like if soldiers go to war and all that stuff, if we can cultivate 80 grand for them, like that's nothing. My brother served in the military,
right?
Yeah. Like he was an Army Ranger, airborne. Yeah. He jumped into Afghanistan after 9/11,
God bless him.
Like that's the only way I can say thank you to my brother. Because like I would never understand, and I probably don't want to understand what he's experienced, because like we don't even talk about it. What's
your brother's name?
Robert Garcia.
He's Robert.
My grandfather served, and he was in Germany, and then my dad was in Vietnam, and like they never talk about that stuff. And it's just like, man, I wish you could talk about it. Or I wish you could go through healing, but so that's kind of how I pay it forward, so.
The Garcia family, thank you for your service. Really, no joke. Robert, thank you. Wow.
And you get to meet amazing people, and like their victory becomes your victory, and like their heartbreak kind of becomes your heartbreak, like when you're around people who, they're still standing and they've lost their wife or they've lost their daughter and they're still here existing and they're radiating joy and love. Like you're like, that does something to you. I'm just painting art. Like, look at what they're walking through. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's an honor to come alongside people like that and be like, hey, I don't know you, but I see you and I'm trying to understand, and let's get this together. You know, let's do this together. And that's, you know, that's at the core of me. Like we're givers, and we definitely want to make this world better than we found it.
Beautiful. That's really cool.
So me and my wife are big into that.
Yeah. It seems to be a theme for you that you're giving. We talked about the Vegas trip, going out to the Cosmopolitan and doing work for the people out there. Yeah,
there's art out there, and we usually do the one in Dallas too. The one in Dallas is huge as well. It was at the Dallas Cowboy practice facility. So like you have Roger Goodell there, you have Jay Glazer, you have the Dallas Cowboys coach, you have all the players there, you have Randy Couture, and then you have Medal of Honor winners, like Purple Heart winners and stuff like that. Wow. So it's just all of this stuff, and they're all there for the same reason. They're all there because like they understand, they want to help each other, and they want to collectively do it together. So it's just this magical experience, and I feel very honored and blessed to kind of be this artist that I'm in position to do this.
And that supports the former NFL players.
Yes, merging vets and players. So they are committing suicide like at an accelerated rate because like there's no programs to get them to get acclimated to society, or be like, okay, you're always a soldier, but you're not, like you're not in wartime anymore, and you might have a chemical imbalance, you might feel alone or isolated, you might go through all of these things. So they're pushing to get more and more, medicine, counseling, all the above, because like these guys do experience some radical stuff.
And there was a show in the Cosmopolitan in Vegas, or there was an event?
Yes, there was an event in Vegas, and then I have done the ones in Dallas too, because I was 15 years in Dallas. So like so like what's beautiful about them too is like there's different chapters opening up. So there's also one in Jacksonville.
Oh, great.
So hopefully God willing, one in Naples will open up. Maybe we'll find out.
Yeah.
Right?
That'd be beautiful. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really, really great.
I'll support that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Any way we can help.
Yeah. This is one I've been thinking about. How do you see art as a tool for healing and unity?
Wow. That is really cool. There's multiple aspects, right? Art communicates to the soul and the subconscious. So sometimes it talks without even talking. We can only communicate so much through verbal action. So I think it's very important, and it really depends on the agenda as well. Back in Dallas, I used to paint for an organization. It's called the Warren Center. So they raise funds for autism, but also to like learning deficiencies within children. What's really heartbreaking about it, though, is they don't have a lot of funding through the government because it's such a small percentage of children, and it's in lower areas, lower income areas. So the Warren Center was developed, and it covers all of North Dallas and Mid Cities Dallas, and they provide free care for any children and counseling for the parents to let the parents understand that there's nothing really wrong with their child, that they just have a learning deficiency. So like the parents get acclimated to understanding their child a little bit more. Because if they don't get that help, that usually breaks up the family. Like studies and statistics have shown that they're affected by it like that. They think that like they did something wrong versus like educating themselves in that aspect. So I've been able to paint with these wonderful kids, and they might have perception aspects where they no touching or anything like that. So I've seen extreme breakthrough when cultivating pieces with them and like them facing their fears and all of that. And of course the counselors are there helping them as well. So so it's pretty powerful. And like you see a lot of the parents crying or like, you know what I mean? Because they've never seen their child experience something like that. So it's extremely powerful. So art plays a very significant role in healing. It is therapeutic. And even if you're not creative, I am convinced that everyone is creative, and they just, whatever level you're at, you really just have to be graceful with yourself. But it is very therapeutic to create, to color, to sing, to cultivate music, to sculpt, to dance. Like it's a form of expression. So I would encourage everyone to try it.
Yeah, that's cool. I just taking that in to, so I've always had that I'm not an artist.
The world's convinced you, you know what I mean? But innovation and creativity is something that's very divine, and it's in everybody. It is literally in everybody.
What is your studio like? What's the music playing? What's the lighting like? What's it like in the world of the studio?
I have really bright lighting so I can see everything. But it's pretty messy, man. Like there's just stuff everywhere, but I do know where everything's at. And it's just, I would say it's like being on the inside of my brain. So like all of the walls have like plastic and like loose canvas around it. So like when I clean my brushes on the wall, you know, some people will buy my, you know, that loose canvas and stuff like that. They don't want anything that's like, you know, like super, you know, iconic or anything like that. They just want my back layers and stuff. And they're like, oh, it looks beautiful. So I kind of just like vandalizing all the walls and stuff like that. And then of course I have my easels everywhere. The jams go all over the place. So I listen to, You're Gonna Laugh. So it probably will start with the Bee Gees, and then we'll go into George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic.
Oh, you got some taste, brother. I like it. Whoa,
and
that's
then,
awesome.
And then we'll switch to like Elton John, and then like somehow Adele gets in there. Then some old school hip hop like Biggie Smalls and Tupac will peek out there, and then like Garth Brooks will randomly play, and then a little bit of like cumbia music from Las Cruces will will pop up and stuff like that. So we're literally all over the place. Like, but I think I have more of like an emotional connection to those songs.
Yeah,
that memories are associated with. So like that kind of like brings me a lot of joy versus like, oh, I need to listen to a specific.
George Clinton, where's that come from? You know,
I know it's random.
No, it's cool though. It's cool. You know, you just don't hear it.
It's all over the place. You know, like Temper Trap, and then
Temper Trap.
Yeah,
Whoa.
of course, dude.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
all
cool.
Over, man.
Don't know many people who have brought them up. I love that group. I love that people.
Yeah,
I started listening to
people. We go
like,
all over the place,
cool,
man. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, just vibe out.
Wow, I can only imagine. It'd be so cool to see your studio. You say it's like a visual of the inside of your brain. How cool that must be to see.
Yeah, I'll send you pictures. And
I would love that.
Yeah, it's really rad.
Awesome.
And then I have a studio in Dallas too. So like when my clients fly me out there and when I go and show out there, I just have stuff I create there. And then in Las Cruces too, I do a lot of like nonprofit stuff in Las Cruces as well, and just really want to like give back to my community, where I'm from. So anytime I have an opportunity to do that, like I squeeze in family time and create a bunch of fun stuff out there as well.
Speaking of your community and home and what brought you up in the world, what would you say to a young person in that community if they wanted to be in the world of art?
Yeah, I would just say believe in yourself more than anything else. And everyone started out as a beginner. Everyone starts out as a beginner. No one's the best at anything from the start. Worry about getting better. Worry about just hammering your craft. Like that's really all it is. That's just day in and day out. Where your attention flows, everything will go there. So I always say, people ask me like, I want to be an artist like you. And I was like, well, okay, cool. Like, I was like, you got to put on these Jordans. I was like, you got to be okay with having paint all over you. Like, you're not going to really have a lot of nice stuff. It's going to be covered in paint. So if you're okay with that, when everyone else is socializing or working, you're going to drift off and go create. When everyone's catching a game, you're painting. When everyone's celebrating Easter, you're painting. When everyone's asleep or relaxing, you're painting. It's like, that's the life I live.
Mm. If you could go back to your 10-year-old self, is there anything you would say to you?
Yeah, I would just say be graceful with yourself. Be graceful with yourself. You're learning.
Mm. Cool.
Yeah.
I got some just for fun.
All right.
Your coffee order.
Coffee order?
Yeah.
Double cappuccino.
Double cap?
Yeah.
Okay. Any books or podcasts that you love?
I love the Joe Rogan Experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Neville Goddard is phenomenal as well too.
What's that one about?
Neville Goddard is about almost like energy and manifesting and kind of like understanding, the ways of God. So that's phenomenal. I like E.T., the hip hop preacher. He's phenomenal as well too. Anything.
And what is that? Is that musical or what's that?
No, he's a podcaster. So he, Eric Thomas. So I think he won the crown of the #1 motivational speaker. And he's just started with such humble beginnings. He was homeless for a while. And I don't think I told you about that, but like in Dallas, I used to live in my car before I started, cultivating my career and stuff like that. So, my spirit bears witness with what he's done, and he's got himself his doctorates, and now he's, like his mentors are like Les Brown.
Yeah.
And then he mentored Inky Johnson too, and Inky Johnson's story is pretty powerful as well. So I just listen to a lot of people who come from like unreasonable circumstances, and they're in a completely different like place in their life, and it's just, to me, it's just so beautiful and it's so powerful. And again, like I told you earlier, like it's just doable. You see these people doing it, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like it's doable. Like we're all humans and we're all capable of doing it.
I gotta check those out.
Yeah, I'll send you those links. They're good.
That'd be great.
They're good stuff.
Yeah. If you weren't an artist, what do you think you'd be doing today?
That is a great question. I would either be really obsessed in the martial arts, or I would want to get into acting.
Acting? Why?
I don't know, man. Like, I just think like the way that they can activate the emotion in a certain way. Like I think I really understand those depths a little bit. So with training and stuff like that. And plus I look like a character, right? So.
True, yeah.
So I'd be a good like background dude who gets like killed in season 2 or something like that. Not the main lead, bro. Just like
but then they bring you back in flashbacks for
because I always tell my wife, like I always tell her all the time, like I don't know if you guys have watched like Goodfellas and The Sopranos. So I'm like,
of course,
look at all these guys. I was like, these guys are in Hollywood and like, no disrespect, but they kind of look like gremlins, like they are not characters on there. They're not attractive people, but like, I was like, dude, they're working, they're doing it, man. I was like, they're so unique looking. And I'm like, wow. I was like, yeah, I kind of look like a character. So
yeah. You can fill that bill.
Be a shoe-in there.
We start doing any sketches or any little, episodes of something crazy. We got a character.
Just the main role.
We can fill you in. Yeah.
Easy breezy. Yeah. I'll be in the background. Just like, want to give me a mean look or something. Yeah. I was like, perfect. But
stay tuned.
That was always it, man. Like outside of that, no. Or something in sculpture, something creative, man.
Yeah.
You know, I think also too, like probably building hot rods would be really cool too. You know, working on cars and stuff. Like,
what's your favorite car?
The one my dad built. So he taught himself. We call him the Mexican Superman, right? He built his own house.
Mexican Superman.
Yeah,
right?
he built his own house. He knows how to weld. Like, you know, it's like a man, right? Like, it's a hombre, right?
Hombre.
So he got this wild idea, and he bought a 1929 Buick Marquis.
19 what?
29.
29.
So it kind of looks like a coupe, like a Ford coupe. He learned how to weld, so he chopped, and it was a rust bucket. I think it took him like 12 years. He would just work, you know, for a while and then like leave it alone, stuff like that. But he taught himself how to paint the car. He sanded everything down. He taught himself how to sew. He did the engineering for, you know, the chassis, all of it, the brake pads, all the above. He installed the electricity in it. He painted it canary yellow, the clear coat glass. He put headers on it. It's just this work of art, you know, and it's just, and he did it just to do it with no intention to sell it or whatever, just because he figured it out. So like, that's really, really inspiring to me. So I'm just like, dude, like that's from nothing to that is pretty radical. So those things are really, really
You got a
cool.
picture of that by any chance?
Yeah, I will send that.
I'd love to drop it in here because I'm trying to visualize
I have
it.
a video, and you're gonna flip out, and it's like an American muscle kind of car.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah.
So the Richard Rawlings offered to buy it off of him in Dallas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's really cool.
He's not up for selling it though.
Yeah, no, he doesn't want to sell it. All right,
Does he drive it? Does he take it?
Yeah, every now and then, but now it's just collecting dust in his garage. But it is beautiful.
It's pride and joy.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, it's just like, man, yeah, it was really, really cool.
What's something most people don't know about you, but should?
Wow, this What's one thing people don't know about me that they should? Contrary to popular belief, I do like musicals. So you might not. So like I like Grease. I like American Idiot. I like Cats. I've yet to see Wicked or The Lion King, but like so that's like a random fact. But yeah.
Okay. Cool. Do you have a hidden talent?
Other than art, not really. No, I don't think I do. I think everyone knows that I paint pretty good. But
Yeah, that's not hidden at all. Yeah, that's fully expressed, and I love it. Cool. Well, I have to say, you're definitely more than an artist.
Thank you.
No doubt. I think, as you may have seen, you're like a movement. There's more than just your art. You paint joy into people's lives, you know, which I witnessed firsthand today, which was so cool to see how it altered people's day when they saw your work. You know, I watched it here, which is so cool.
Thank you very much.
You bring boldness to every wall and canvas. So thanks for showing us what happens when passion meets purpose. Super cool. You know, we're honored to have you here as a guest, but more than anything, I think Naples is blessed to have you. We got really lucky to have you in our community. We got somebody with such a great soul and such another great human that I get the honor and privilege of knowing, and we're going to collaborate together and do some fun stuff together in the future.
Well, that means the world. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for your kind words. I feel very blessed that Naples found me. So,
Yeah, we're lucky, man.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks
very,
again, brother.
very thankful to be here.
Certainly appreciate you.
You rock.
Well done. Thanks, brother.
You too.
Appreciate it. He's awesome. He's awesome. He's just like you said. Okay, that's a wrap on today's episode of the Spotlight on Good People. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for spending time with us, for being here, whether you're at work, whether you're relaxing, whether you're driving, whether you're chasing toddlers around. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. And because you did that, we like to do some surprise and delight. So I have a special prize for you. For the first 25 listeners, who message with the word gratitude, you're going to get a $100 gift card to the salon. That's a $100 gift card to Robert of Philadelphia. For real. First 25 people. Because kindness looks better with great hair. Wait, who wrote that? That's not funny. All right. Thanks.